Hello everybody. Today we're going to work on section 10.3, the Pythagorean Theorem. And basically the Pythagorean Theorem is used to find missing sides of right triangles. So the shape we're going to be focusing on today is the right triangle. Alright, before we get started with it, we do have to learn the parts of a right triangle. We have legs of the right triangle, and the legs are the two sides that form the right angle. So here you have the first leg, and here you have the second leg, and again together when they're combined they make the right angle. And the third side is called the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always going to be opposite of the right angle, and it is always the longest side. Okay, the theorem itself. This is what it says. It says in any right triangle, the sum of the squares of the lengths of the legs is equal to the square of the length of the hypotenuse. And it is commonly referred to as a squared plus b squared equals c squared. If I go back to the last drawing that we had here, you'll notice that the legs are labeled a and b, and the hypotenuse is labeled c. So let's do an example here. We have this right triangle, and we know we have a right triangle because it has a right angle in it. And we see that we have a length of 7, a length of 24, and then a missing side. Now in this problem it does tell you that the missing side is C, but you would want to look at that closely and see where is that located, and you want to look at the right angle. And we notice the missing side is opposite of the right angle, making it the hypotenuse. So when we have a missing side, we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. Again, it is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And we're going to substitute the values of the right triangle that we know. So we know 7 and 24 are both legs. The legs always go on the left-hand side. So we're going to put 7 as A and 24 as B. And C is the one that is missing. Now it doesn't matter what order you put the legs in, so if I put 24 as A and 7 as B, I would get the same answer either way, so that doesn't really matter based off the commutative property. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to solve it. So 7 squared is 49. 24 squared is 576. And C squared we don't know. We can combine our like terms. So 49 and 576 is 625. And that equals c squared. Now what that means is, that means that the square of that side is 625. So we want to actually find the length of that side, we have to do the opposite or inverse operation. And as we talked about yesterday, the inverse operation of squaring is square rooting, so we're going to square root both sides, because again, a square root and a square, they cancel each other out. Using your calculator, the square root of 625 is 25. And we'll label that with centimeters because that is the label of the problem. Okay, let's look at another one. We have a right triangle. Again, we know because there's a right angle in it, and one of the sides is 7. Another side is 10, and we have a missing side. First thing I do is figure out which of the labels is the missing side, and it is opposite of the hypotenuse, making us missing the hypotenuse again. So it's opposite of the right angle. So we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And the legs we are given, so I'm going to put 7 for A, 10 for B, and C is the hypotenuse. And then we're going to solve this equation. So 7 squared is 49, 10 squared is 100, C squared is just C squared. Combine my like terms. And now we have to do the inverse of c to find out what the value of c is. So we're going to square root. Now the square root of 149 is not a perfect square. So you're going to have to check one of two things, and really you're going to be looking at your homework directions to figure out what exactly you need to do. But you're either going to need to simplify it, or you're going to actually put it in your calculator and round your answer. We're going to round our answers to the nearest hundredth today. So when I do that, that actually can't be simplified. There is no perfect square that is a factor. So when I square root that and I put it in my calculator, I get 12.21, and it'd be inches, and that equals C. All right, number 3 is a little different because number 3, we're missing one of the sides that is adjacent to the right angle. So this is actually going to be a leg that's missing. So when we solve the Pythagorean Theorem, a different variable will be in the problem. So again, every time you have a right triangle and you're finding a side, it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Missing a leg, so I am going to put 3.5 in for a, and b is the variable, and 6.5 in for c, and I'm going to go ahead and solve it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to square 3.5, and I'm going to get 12.25. Then I'm going to square 6.5 and get 42.25. Now I'm going to solve the equation. So again, following our steps, we're going to subtract 12.25 to both sides. And get b squared equals 30. And I have to get b isolated, so I'm going to square root both sides. And as I look at this, I'm going to see if I can simplify it, and I cannot. So since I can't simplify it, I'm going to put it in my calculator and round my answer to the nearest hundredth, and I get 5.48 kilometers. Go ahead and pause the video and do number 4. Alright, hopefully when you solve this one, you got 12.49 yards. I did want to mention on this problem that 156 actually does simplify. If you looked for perfect squares that go in, 4 is one that goes into 156. And it's a square root of 4 and the square root of 39. So another possible answer here would be 2 root 39 yards. And like I said, definitely read the directions on your problems because it may ask you for the decimal answer or it may ask you for the simplified answer. And the simplified answer is more accurate because you're not rounding anything. I want to do a couple word problems before I let you go. You'll do a lot of word problems on Friday, but I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a framework for it. Your boat is traveling due north at 20 miles per hour. A friend's boat left at the same time from the same dock headed due west at 15 miles per hour. After an hour, your friend calls you to tell you that he is out of gas. How far must you travel to rescue your friend? So first thing, whenever we have a geometric word problem, we need to draw it out. Again, you want to have some sort of a diagram there. So we're going to kind of have the dock be right here. And your boat is going north. North is up at 20 miles an hour for 1 hour, so you're going 20 miles. And your friend left and went west. West is to the left. And that is 15 miles per hour. And they're out of gas, so you have to go and get them. So this is the distance here that you have to travel. And you'll see that after we made our drawing, what we have here is we have a right triangle, and we are missing the hypotenuse. So we're going to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And 15 is a, and 20 is b. Again, that doesn't matter what order you put them in. And we are missing the hypotenuse, or x squared. Go ahead and pause the video. I'm going to let you guys solve that, and then we'll check our work. All right, I'm hoping that you got 25 miles, so hopefully you have enough gas to go pick up your friend. All right, something different. The dimensions of a rectangular doorway are 20 centimeters by 90 centimeters, and we want to know, can a tabletop with a diameter of 210 centimeters be carried through the doorway? Again, we want to draw a picture, and there's my doorway, and it's the shape of a rectangle, and we know that it's 200 centimeters for the length, and it's 90 centimeters for the width, and we want to see if the tabletop can fit through. Now, when you go to move things, you don't always going to go up and down. You want to try to find or maximize the amount of space. So what we learned earlier today is that when you are trying to find the maximum space, it's actually the diagonal. And if you've ever seen somebody move, a lot of times when they're moving things through a door, they have to kind of tilt the object so that it fits through. And what you see here is the diagonal of a rectangle forms two right triangles, thus creating us missing the hypotenuse. So we're going to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And a is going to be 90, b is going to be 200, and c is going to be our x. Go ahead and pause the video and solve this one. Okay, when I solved this, I got 219.32. So again, what that means is this length here is 219.32 centimeters. And so yes, it will fit because the tabletop is only 210. All right, last one we're going to do today is Dr. Austin wants to create a garden in the shape of a right isosceles triangle in the back of his mathematical mansion. The sides of the triangle need to be 8 feet long. How much fencing will Dr. Austin need to keep the rabbits from eating his vegetables? If the cost of the fencing is $4.98 per foot, how much will it cost to enclose the garden? So the first thing we want to do is we want to draw the picture. So it's a right triangle, and it is isosceles, meaning that those two sides are equal, and they are both 8. And what we're going to try to figure out is what is the length of the other side. So I'm going to pause the video and have you do the same thing, and go ahead and find for me the length of x. Okay, so we figure out that the length of the third side is 13.31 feet. So now we want to go back, we want to answer our questions. How much fencing will Dr. Austin need to keep the rabbits from eating the vegetables? That's a perimeter question, so I'm going to add them up. So I have 8 plus 8 plus. Now, whenever you go to the store, you can't walk into the hardware store and say, oh, I want 13.31 feet of fencing. You actually have to get 14 feet of fencing, so I'm going to put 14 there. And we're going to add them up together, and we are going to get 30. So 30 feet is what we need. And if the cost of the fencing is $4.98 a foot, how much will it cost to enclose the garden? So we're going to take that 30 feet, and we are going to multiply it by the $4.98 a foot, and we will get $149.40. So we are not going to get to this one. It's actually in your homework, so I'm going to let you guys do it there. Hopefully you figured out how to use the Pythagorean Theorem. And like I said, today you'll do a lot of problems and a couple word problems, but you'll do more word problems tomorrow. Please let me know if you have any questions. Have a good day.